So thank you so much for being here. My name is Marcus. I'm the technology editor of Remix. And we're here today, of course, with Nate Hills, better known as Danja Hands or just Danja. And we have his engineer of the last 5 or so years, also Marcella. And most of you, I'm sure, are familiar with this gentleman, but just in case you're not, he came up for a number of years producing with Timbaland. And he was the co-producer on albums by Justin Timberlake and Nelly Furtado. And now he's pretty much doing his own thing, producing, and he's worked with who's who of people out in the hip-hop and R&B world. T.I., Madonna, 50 Cent. He worked a lot on the latest Britney Spears album, which just came out, and he's got some stuff on a lot of upcoming things as well, Missy Elliott's new album for next year. But today we're gonna talk specifically about one track that he did. It's over a year old now, but it's the DJ Khaled track, We Takin' Over. You may have heard, I'm sure you've heard it before, but we've got the whole session right here in Pro Tools 8, and shout out to DigiDesign who supplied us with the HD rig for this. Let's jump right in and let's listen to a bit of the track, maybe just a verse and a chorus worth, and then we'll talk specifically about the production process and techniques for this track.
DJ Khaled, Convict Music, we the best, we taking over. Listen,
spread out with it. South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, on to North Carolina, Philadelphia, Virginia. From down in Miami, where it's warm in the winter, on up to Minnesota, where it's storm in the winter. Jacksonville, Tallahassee, Memphis, 10, holla at me. B&H Town, Southside, Cloverland, Daddy, I'm the man out in Dallas. Better ask Cali, Catman, Cali with my eyes open valley. Blowing that spinning, going down Vinny. Drop 6, 4, 3, wheel here switching. Red light stop, make it drop for the bitch. Out of block 4, 5th, blow your head all with it. Anything you hear that I said, I meant it. Can't got the crown, then spit all with it. Say you need bricks, I said I
if you want to, we can supply you. Got enough work to feed the whole town. They won't shoot you unless you try to. Come around and try to stumble our ground, 'cause we taking over. Said we taking over. Said we taking over. Said we taking over. Listen,
it's what I do.
All right, cool. So, yeah, go. Give it up. Give it up. So, let's talk about, if you can remember, specifically what kind of synths you used. I mean, that dun, 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 that's, one of the hooks of the song. So, can you talk about how you got that sound?
It's a program I use called Vanguard. I don't use it. I haven't used it in a while. But this particular program, you have all different types of arpeggiation settings. You can edit it and do whatever you want. Sometimes you hit it and it just play a pattern. But I just take it and kind of chop it like I play the keys as if I'm hitting a sampler.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did on that one, and just sampled what I did and looped it in the MP, and that I built the rest of the track around that song. So that one sound, I like to take one particular sound, like you said, it would be the hook of the record, and build everything else around that sound. So that was the first sound I actually started. No, actually I started with the drums and put that sound on top of it. And all the rest of the music I built around that sound.
So, did you also use Vanguard for the organ, so the pad sound that plays the chords in the intro?
The chords are plug sounds. They have some nice choirs in there, and I stack a couple of choirs or a couple of pads, put them together. That's it. What else is it? Sample tank. Sample tank for the other choir sound, the one that's going back and forth. And that's it. Everything else I stack. I kind of take one module and create the sound that I'm looking for, and everything else is just, I don't like to be all over the place. So everything else I just pick a sound here, a sound there, just small things to add but I picked one plugin to create the sound of the track, the sound of the music.
All right. So you mentioned that you start with drums, or with this track you started with drums. And, of course, you're a keyboardist and drummer yourself, and you play a lot of drums live for your songs. But for this, and you also use the MPC 4000 a lot, too. So what was the situation with the drums on this song?
Can you find the drum loop? Play the drum loop. Play that one. That was a totally different track.
Okay.
I did a totally different beat with that sound, with that drum loop. And I slowed it down or just found another, a whole nother pitch. And then I play the second, mute that one and play the second. Yeah, and I just played those both together. Then I add all the kicks and stuff like that. So it was a totally different track. It was a totally different track at first. And then I just put everything else together. I just keep adding until I just get it sonically sounding how I want it to sound. But the first two drum loops created the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Every other drum is creating the hit and the pop and the snare and just accenting the sound of the drum loop.
All right. So when you are doing things in the MPC, and then you bring it into Pro Tools or whatever DAW you're using, do you record through the analog outs, or do you just transfer them digitally?
Everything I do inside the MPC is sampling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running sampling. I'm playing everything live out the keyboard, and then we 2-track it through. Nothing is file transferred. It's all
analog out.
Yeah, it's all analog out, and she records everything. And I don't really. I do what I can. I don't really do too many EQs myself because I don't like to tamper with what she would do in the mix. So everything is pretty much raw until she gets it. So everything is analog and analog out. And then it goes to Pro Tools and she EQs it or compresses or does whatever she have to do to make it hit how it needs to hit.
So when you've you did a couple of different interviews with Remix, and you guys can look those up at remixmag.com. But in each interview, you mentioned very specifically how when you're working with different artists, you like to cater your sound and your attitude toward the music to that artist. But in this track, I'm curious. There's like 7 vocalists in this one. So, I mean, how did it start? Was everyone actually working together in one room, or how did you do that?
DJ Khaled came to me and said, I need nobody. For those who don't know Khaled, he's the ultimate hype man. So I guarantee you he will come into the studio and pump you up to make one of the hottest tracks you will ever make that night.
He's a visionary.
He's an incredible visionary. And he came to me practically with the sound and the song done in his head. He said, I'm going to get this person, I'm going to get that person, watch, it's going to be big. So I'm like, all right. So he came to me with this vision, and I told him, I said, just leave me alone, don't come in the studio until I'm done. I just like to be alone sometimes and work until I come up with just get my vision out. And I came in, and I did the basis of that. Everything was pretty much done. And then he came in and heard it. For those of you who know Khaled, he's a big guy. Love him to death. He got so excited, he took his shirt off. He walking around the studio and he's rapping everybody's part. Like there were no vocals on it yet. So he's rapping everybody's part. They're going to come in like this. Da, 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 da. So he actually gave me the vision of the track, of the song that he wanted to put together. Then he went to each artist himself. He said, I need this. And then we arranged it later. But for the most part. He went and got the verses. He might have got Akon first. He did the chorus, and then everybody else just followed after Akon with their verse. But yeah, he just that was totally different than any other session. Everybody else, let's say T.I. I worked with him out here in L.A. On the last album, T.I. vs. T.I.P., and we went in the studio and we'll sit in front. I just played a bunch of tracks, so I would do tracks. He would hear them. He would go into the booth, do a verse or a hook, or a verse and a hook, come out. By the time he's done with the verse and the hook, I have another track. He hear it. It's just that pattern. And we did maybe 7 or 8 tracks that day, something like that. So that's a totally different process. With Khaled, he took the track. This is his way of working every song. He'd take the track and go get the vocalist, da 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 da, and that's how we Taking Over came about. None of us was in the same room together. Mm-hmm. None of us. He'll send the track off there to Texas, get the track back. He send it to L.A., get it back with a new vocal, get it back, and the day of mixing, he might have one last vocal left. So that's how that one goes.
But so did you actually record like all the lyrics with Khaled as sort of like a scratch track to maybe accompany the music while you were mixing it or arranging it?
I mean, I have my little flow in my head, but it doesn't go too much further than my head. Mm-hmm. And like I said, Khaled was the main visionary on this track, so he's rapping everything. And I know he took that to he met with Wayne or met with Baby and told him, look, I want you to come in right here and perform for him or do whatever he does to get it done. And that's how it is. Sometimes I do go in the booth and I may sing a melody or I may sing do a little rap flow or whatever, just to get my idea down, what I hear on the track.